Welcome to the Ice Guys, presented by the Hockey Podcast Network. It is Monday, March 29th. It is Ian Cameron with you, and it is Ian Cameron flying solo today because we've got a shorthanded team, unfortunately, at the Ice Guys today. Late scratches for both Alex B. Smith and Jimmy Murphy today for health reasons. They're fine, just a little under the weather today, but hoping they're back with me and alongside me on the show as early as tomorrow. But stuck with me, unfortunately, again, for this Monday edition of the show. And an interesting NHL card to break down here on this Monday. We'll get to each and every game from a betting perspective. It is a Monday card with some pretty intriguing matchups. We're going to have the Oilers and the Leafs one more time, the Islanders and the Penguins. So a lot of interesting games to break down. Again, we're battling a little bit of a shorthanded roster here with the Ice Guys, kind of like the Pittsburgh Penguins, who we'll talk about in just a second. But hey, just like the Penguins are taking the ice and playing through it, we're playing through it here on the show as well. So looking forward to breaking down this Monday NHL slate. Hope everybody had a good weekend. Let's get to it. We'll start with the New York Islanders taking on the Pittsburgh Penguins. We've got pretty much even money here on both sides, minus 110. But with the Islanders and the Penguins in this matchup in Pittsburgh, total 5.5, shaded to the under just a little bit here in this game. The Pittsburgh Penguins taking care of business. Very impressive win head-to-head in the first meeting against the Islanders on Saturday night, a 6-3 victory in favor of the Penguins. They played some really strong hockey in that game. The Islanders, not one of their better games defensively, and they don't have games very often where you say they give up 6 goals in a game, but it's exactly what happened. Pittsburgh's played the Islanders very well this season. That victory on Saturday, 6-3, makes Pittsburgh now 5-2 head-to-head against the Islanders this season. And basically now they're only 2 points behind the Islanders here in the East Division. So it was a big win, and obviously Pittsburgh surging up the standings. Really, they've done it because of a home record that's been outstanding. I think they're 15-4, this Pittsburgh Penguins team on home ice this season. They've played outstanding hockey at home. I think what's really impressive about Saturday's win for Pittsburgh is this is a decimated team right now due to injuries. And yet they were still able to overcome that, and pick up a very good win against a very, very strong Islanders team. You look at the guys that are out of this lineup right now for the Pittsburgh Penguins. They're playing without 3 of their top 4 centers, including Evgeny Malkin and Teddy Bluger. 5 of their top 9 forwards out. They have an entire second line that normally is in the lineup for them. Malkin, Kapanen, Zucker, all of those guys are out right now. They are a very, very injury-plagued hockey team, particularly up front at this point in time. And yet to still see the Pittsburgh Penguins beat a quality team like the Islanders Saturday night, very impressive. I can't say Ilya Sorokin, though, was as impressive for the New York Islanders. He made a rare start the other night against Pittsburgh. He'd actually won his 8 straight starts prior to Saturday, but it was not one of his better games. He allowed just 4 goals on just 9 shots the other night. He got pulled. I would expect Semyon Varlamov to be in net again for the New York Islanders tonight in this game and in a bounce back type of spot for them. They are 8-4, the Islanders, off a loss this season going into this game. Pittsburgh's a tough team to go against at home right now. There's no denying that. And I've now said this about 2 weeks straight here on the Ice Guys show, that the emergence of a brand new front office with Ron Hextall, the GM, Brian Burke, the president of hockey operations, I think it's really gotten these players to focus, dig in, and say, you know what, we want to show you that we're still a very good hockey team. We want to show you that we can be a playoff team, and we want to show you that if we get in the playoffs, we can be dangerous and we can beat teams, maybe go on a run and maybe challenge to win a Stanley Cup. And for a lot of these guys, Sidney Crosby, Evgeny Malkin, the guys that have been around this Pittsburgh team for a very long time that are now in their 30s, they don't know how many more cracks at the Stanley Cup they're going to get. So they are playing with an extremely incredible amount of purpose going into this game tonight. For the Penguins, playing extremely good at this point in time. We'll have to see if it continues. I like this spot, though, for the Islanders. And again, it's not an easy team right now to fade at home, Pittsburgh, and fade overall with the way they've played. But I like the Islanders, the situation for them. Varlamov's going to be in net. They're 8-4 off a loss. They don't want to lose back-to-back games against Pittsburgh, who are now nipping at their heels in the East Division standings. They are a very good defensive team that usually when they have a bad defensive game, you go back and look in the last couple of seasons when they've played poorly in one game, giving up 5-6 goals, they're usually very good the next game defensively, and they usually win the next game in that spot. I like the Islanders. I think it's a great setup for them here, -105, -110. The price is very good. I think they're still the better team slightly over this Penguins team, even though Pittsburgh's playing well. Pittsburgh's still not healthy, and I give them credit for the wins they've been able to get with all the guys they have out of the lineup. But at some point, you're not going to be able to overcome all of these injuries, all of these key absences, and still be able to win the game. You look at advanced numbers over the last 10 games, the Islanders are better expected goals percentage, expected goal margin, high danger chances. The Islanders are better in all those categories. I think I've got the better team in a bounce back spot, in a rare defensive shoddy effort for them. You don't see the Islanders give up 5 or 6 very often. I like them to bounce back, and I like the Islanders here at -110. To get the victory against the Penguins tonight. Next game, we've got the Edmonton Oilers taking on the Toronto Maple Leafs. Toronto -140, home favorites in this game. The total 6.5. Great game between the Oilers and Leafs the other night. It really was. It was an exciting game. The Edmonton Oilers gave you that effort that I thought they would coming off the 3-game, really shellacking they took at the hands of Toronto back in Edmonton earlier this season. They had several days off thanks to the multiple COVID-19 postponements with their games against Montreal last week. And they came out and they played an outstanding first couple of periods against Toronto on Saturday night. 3-1 lead. Draisaitl and McDavid made a couple of unbelievable plays with the puck in the offensive zone to set up a couple of those goals. The pass he made McDavid to Draisaitl for the one-time blast to beat Jack Campbell. I think that was the 2-1 goal for Edmonton. And then you look after that, it was an unbelievable eyes in the back of his head type of backhand pass from behind the Leaf net out in front to a pinching Tyson Barrie coming in from his right point spot and just beating Jack Campbell with a great shot. But it was the pass from Draisaitl behind the net that was just outstanding. That's the kind of play that only a select few players in the National Hockey League can make. And Leon Draisaitl's pass from behind the net, backhand, no look, puts it right on the tape still of Barrie. Outstanding. And Edmonton was looking great at that point in the game. Took a 3-1 lead into the second intermission. But Toronto really came out, really put the pressure on Edmonton in the third period, swarming the Oilers in the offensive zone. And for the first 10 minutes of that third period, they were clinging to that 3-1 lead. And Mike Smith, I'll tell you what, even in a losing effort Saturday night, he was brilliant, I thought. He made a ton of great saves. He continues to play very well night in and night out for this Oilers team, give them a chance. And he really kept the Leafs at bay. But finally, when the Leafs just kept basically just charging the offensive zone in waves in that third period, and finally the dam burst, the roof caved in, whatever analogy you want to use, and the Leafs made it 3-2. And then they got the tying goal from Nylander to make it 3-3. And then overtime, the momentum was all with Toronto. And Austin Matthews, who was like stoned by Mike Smith like 2 or 3 different times in that game, brilliant chances, and Mike Smith makes saves on him. And yet he gets one of the most lucky, weird goals that you'll ever imagine to get bust out of his little scoring slump with the overtime winner to give the Leafs a comeback 4-3 win. Really tough loss, disappointing, disheartening loss for Edmonton because they had the right response early in the game, came out strong, weren't able to sustain it for 60 minutes. The Leafs took the game to Edmonton in the third period and ended up coming back to win that game. So now the rematch. And initially I was like, boy, you know what? Edmonton, they let that one slip away. They may not get it back again because Toronto didn't play their best for 2 periods and still came back to win. But we got some surprising news this morning out of the Toronto Maple Leafs morning skate press conference that Jack Campbell, who has played great every time he's been in net this season. He's undefeated as a starter. 5-0 now this season as a starter? Jack Campbell finally plays 2 games in a row. It finally looks like he's putting this injury that he's had behind him. And sure enough, here's Sheldon Keefe this morning announcing that, he had a little bit of a setback yesterday. He wasn't really feeling all that great in practice on Sunday, the day after the Edmonton game on Saturday night. He didn't quite feel 100%. And as a result, we're going to rest him tonight. And of course, Frederik Andersen is still out indefinitely. We don't know when he's coming back. So it's Michael Hutchinson who's going to be in net tonight for the Toronto Maple Leafs. A surprise starter. There's been this setback. And all of a sudden, if you're Kyle Dubas, the GM, and if you're a Leaf fan, this is concerning. This is alarming because you got Freddie Andersen out indefinitely. You don't know when you're going to get him back. Jack Campbell's awesome when he's in net. And you're getting excited because now he's going to have this opportunity to play, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games in a row and really show you what he can do when they give him the net night in and night out to see if he can be that guy in net consistently as a number one guy, as a starter, at least until Andersen gets healthy. And now he has a setback with his injuries, and now he's, at least for tonight, they're going to rest him. It's concerning for Toronto, big time. And now all of a sudden you got to pivot if you're Kyle Dubas, and you hear all these people in the media talking about you need another top 6 forward, you need another defenseman, you need to bulk up those areas going into the trade deadline, going into the playoffs. And now all of a sudden you may have to look for a goalie. I'm serious. I'm not kidding. I'm not shitting anybody saying this. You have to legitimately consider that they may actually have to go outside the organization for goaltending help if Andersen ain't coming back anytime soon. That's number one. Number two, what if this Jack Campbell, we've seen this with Jack Campbell now a couple times. All of a sudden, a little rest, just didn't feel quite well, just a little, aggravation and some pain. We're going to give him a day. We're going to give him a couple of days, and a couple of days turns into a couple of weeks, turns into a couple of months. We've seen this with Jack Campbell before. So you got to be worried about that. Hopefully that's not the case this time. Maybe this is just be cautious, be careful with him. He's coming off an injury. He's played a couple of games. It's not something he's used to. Maybe he's feeling a little tender today. We'll give him the night off. Don't worry about it. We're thinking long-term he's fine. We'll see if we can get him back in the net Wednesday when they play the Winnipeg Jets for another big game on deck for the Leafs. But it's concerning. It absolutely is. And Hutchinson's in net tonight. And yeah, he's had a couple games. He's played well. It wasn't the last time he was in net. He hasn't been in net since that Ottawa game on that Sunday night. And he gave up 2 of the worst goals a goaltender could ever give up. Right through the wickets, right along the ice. An NHL goalie's got to make those saves. There was no screen, nobody in front, no deflection. It went right through him. Both of those goals that Ottawa scored in the first 10 minutes of that hockey game. That worries the hell out of you if you're a Leaf fan. What Hutchinson is it going to be tonight? Because he actually has shown you this season some good moments in net, some good performances. But he's also given up, just 2 absolute shitty goals, 2 of the worst goals you'll ever see anybody give up. The last time he was in net against Ottawa, and of course he got pulled in that game, and Frederik Andersen actually had to finish that game that night against the Ottawa Senators. So, that's dicey with Hutchinson. It's like, flip a coin. Who's going to be in net? Is it going to be a good performance? Is it going to be a bad performance? You don't know. You would think the Leafs now, knowing it's Hutchinson in net, all the more reason to dig in defensively, be solid. Don't give him the grade A chances to have to save. Make him face shots that he should be able to handle. Of course, as I just said, when he played Ottawa a couple of weeks ago, he was given shots that he should have been able to handle, and he couldn't handle them. They went through him. They went in the net. So from that standpoint, I worry about the Leafs here with Hutchinson in net tonight. And he's facing 2 of the best offensive players in the league in Draisaitl and McDavid. Probably in an ornery mood too after seeing a 3-1 lead evaporate Saturday night in a 4-3 overtime loss. So I am back on Edmonton, and I wasn't expecting to be. Because I took Edmonton Saturday night at the plus price, and was very, very discouraged to see them not finish the deal, not close out that victory against the Leafs. But there's just too much uncertainty with Hutchinson right now. You got to hope Edmonton looks at that game as, wow, we probably should have won that game, kind of let them off the hook. We pulled the Denny Green. We let them off the hook in the third period on Saturday night. Don't get discouraged. You still had your best performance head-to-head this season you've had against Toronto. Build on that if you're the Edmonton Oilers. Darnell Nurse continues to be outstanding for this Oilers team on the blue line, by the way. I never thought he had this kind of offense in him. No, not a chance. But he's always been pretty steady defensively. He's got that physical presence to him. He's got that edge. He's got that bite. He doesn't mind throwing his weight around. He doesn't mind dropping the gloves every now and then, which I like. But I didn't think he had this kind of offensive upside in him to shoot the puck, to score goals, and he's been able to do that this season with pretty impressive regularity. Darnell Nurse, he's having a hell of a season. I'm not just saying that because he's from where, Hamilton, but he's having a really, really good season right now for the Edmonton Oilers. And of course, he scores another goal the other night. The Maple Leafs power play also continues to be an issue. 0 for 18 slump with the man advantage. That's hard to believe. With this talent and Matthews and Marner and Nylander and Tavares and Hyman and everybody that the Leafs have at their disposal to be able to score goals offensively, to see them on a 0 for 18 slump with the man advantage is pretty frightening, pretty surprising. We'll see if they can bounce out of it tonight. But I like Edmonton here, plus 130, plus 125. Price has already come down just a little bit because probably reaction to the Michael Hutchinson news that he is in net for the Leafs tonight, not Jack Campbell. But again, Edmonton played their best game of the season against Toronto. You just hope that it's a 60-minute effort tonight. I think if it is, they've got themselves a chance. Again, Toronto's power play is still not clicking. They're still not finishing their chances. Their numbers look great. Expected goal margin looks great. Expected goals for percentage looks great. High danger chances. You want to see something that's tells you that the puck luck is not there right now for Toronto. I'll bring the numbers up here. I got to get my phone out because I got I put the advanced numbers on there because I got too many windows open on the laptop here. And if I have too many windows open, it's going to slow down the stream, and I don't want that. But anyway, the Leafs have generated 105 high danger scoring chances, and yet they've only scored 9 high danger goals. That tells you that this is just an absurd amount of bad luck, bad shooting percentage for the Leaf players, bad puck luck, whatever you want to call it. But they're under normal circumstances, 105 high danger scoring chances should result in more than 9 high danger goals. Way more than that. So there's something's missing here. Something's off right now with Toronto. They're just not for bad puck luck, bad shooting. They're generating those good chances. That's just in the last 10 games, by the way. That's not full season numbers. Those are the last 10 games. Toronto has generated over 100 high danger chances, and yet they only have 9 high danger goals. So at some point, things have got to improve for this Leaf offense. They're going to have an outburst at some point. The stats bear it out. You can only go this long, I think, with being snake bit offensively, collectively as a team. I just hope it's not tonight because I like Edmonton here, plus 130 in this game. I lean over the total as well. You can't help but lean over when you see Michael Hutchinson's name as the starting goaltender. And you did see the game go over the total on Saturday night. But again, 6.5, and we're seeing a lot of unders lately in the NHL. It's not like you're getting a great number or great value here. So lean to the over. Yeah, Dylan Turner with a great comment. Galchenyuk ever going to do anything for any team he plays for? He's kind of what I just spoke of with the Leafs as a team. It's kind of like what we're seeing with Galchenyuk. He's getting chances. He's getting opportunities. He's just not finishing them right now. And in fact, you could say that for the most part, that's been the Toronto Maple Leafs for the last few weeks, getting those high danger chances, not turning them into high danger goals. So we'll see if that changes for them and the script flips just a little bit moving forward. Next game, we've got the Philadelphia Flyers, Buffalo Sabres. Philadelphia, minus 180 to minus 190, road favorites, total 6, shaded to the under. My first observation when I saw this betting line is, how bad do the Buffalo Sabres have to be when the Philadelphia Flyers are a minus 190 road favorite against them? And that's exactly what stuck out to me here in this game. Now, let's give some credit to the Flyers. It's been a rough go for them. Their defensive game has been in shambles for the better part of the last 2 or 3 weeks. Their goaltending has been non-existent. And things have gotten so bad for Carter Hart that Alain Vigneault today, head coach of the Flyers, said, you know what? He's not even with the team right now. We're sending him away. It's like going to the mosque and you need meditation. and you got to go away from everybody. I need my time. I need my solace. I need my serenity. I need my peace and quiet. It's almost like this is what they're doing right now, Philadelphia, to Carter Hart. He's struggling. Get away from the team. Get away from the noise and everybody saying you suck and you're fighting the puck. And people like me always saying that, hey, he's having a bad run right now. And he is having a bad run. He is having a horrendous run without question for the Philadelphia Flyers in net. There's no denying that whatsoever. You're not splitting the atom and figuring out when you watch a Flyer game that Carter Hart's struggling right now. You don't have to be Mr. Genius to discover that or realize that. He is just having a really, really tough time right now in terms of fighting the puck. He didn't mince words, Vigneault. He said he had to work harder. He had to play better. He had to work harder. He had to work better was the phrase he used about Carter Hart. And so that you don't want to hear. Talking about work harder, work better. I mean, you're talking about a kid that is barely wet behind the ears, that's been praised as maybe the best goaltender that the Philadelphia Flyers have had since Bernie Parent and Ron Hextall. This guy is all of a sudden resting on people just already showering him with praise that he's going to be the best goalie that Philly has seen in decades, and not put in the work, not put in the time, not practice as hard or as well as his teammates. If that's true, and that's kind of what Alain Vigneault is saying about Carter Hart, then shame on Carter Hart. I mean, you haven't proven a damn thing yet in this league. Yeah, you had a nice season last year. You got your team into the playoffs, but you start hearing this stuff from the coach publicly, and the fact he's not scared to express these views publicly would worry me even more about where his headspace is right now, Carter Hart, at this point in time. So don't buy into the praise. Don't buy into your own hype, to what people are saying when you were in a good groove last year. You've still got to work hard. You've still got to tweak your game and improve, and apparently work ethic is an issue from Carter Hart at this point, according to the coach. So he's not with the team, which means it's Brian Elliott in net tonight for the Flyers, and it will be Brian Elliott probably for at least a couple games. They've already ruled Carter Hart out for these two games back-to-back against Buffalo. We'll see if the Flyers did play better defensively against the Rangers. They held the shots on goal lower. Elliott was solid. Can they do it again, though? Remember, this is a team that has been beyond bad defensively for weeks. They have one pretty good game defensively. Is it enough to say everything's going to be right again? They can keep this going? Of course, they're playing an opponent where, maybe they can keep this going because the Buffalo Sabres are that bad this season. But I'm not ready to trust Philadelphia as a road favorite and Brian Elliott. And if any of you tune in late night at midnight Eastern to my good friend, longtime friend, I've known him for a decade, Gabe Morency on Sports Rage, late night, his show on Sports Grid Radio. I said last Wednesday when I was on the show with him, he asked me a good question. When are the Buffalo Sabres going to win? When are they finally going to win and snap the losing streak? And I thought, just looking at the schedule, that one of their better chances to snap the skid would be tonight, hosting the Philadelphia Flyers at home, a struggling Flyers team, a team that's defensively, their confidence has been shattered. Their goaltending is very, very vulnerable right now. I think Brian Elliott maybe a little bit more reliable than Carter Hart, but that's not saying much. Elliott's numbers aren't very good. He's struggling as well for the most part. I thought, and I said this to Morency, that I thought this would be the time that the Buffalo Sabres might get that win. I am on Buffalo here. Now, I've been a good foot soldier here, and I haven't been tempted at any point during this horrendous losing streak for the Buffalo Sabres to back them at all these huge plus prices they've been getting because of how bad they've been. But I think tonight's the night to sprinkle a little bit on Buffalo. This is going to be a small bet for me. How can it be anything but a small bet with the way the Sabres have gone? But you're talking about plus 170, plus 175 here in this game, a Flyers team that I don't trust in this road favorite range or their defense to do it 2 games in a row. I like Giroux and I like the forwards up front, but defense has been an issue. And I'll say this about the Sabres on Saturday against Boston. They're that close to winning the game. That close. They're actually going into the third period Saturday afternoon against the Boston Bruins with a 2-1 lead. But you know what happens? Buffalo goes Buffalo on us. They lose the lead. They lose the game 3-2. But I saw a step up in effort. I saw a step up in we give a damn. I actually saw them getting in some scrums during the game, which means that they are totally mentally checked out. I actually saw an honest, competitive, we kind of care about what's going on here effort from the Buffalo Sabres on Saturday afternoon against the Boston Bruins. And again, 3-2. And Linus Ullmark being back, he's not a great goalie by any stretch, but damn, he is the absolute best goalie they've got in this organization right now. And he is still better than Carter Hutton by a mile. And he is better than Jonas Johansson, who was so bad he got shipped out of town to Colorado. And he's better than Dustin Tokarski, who, of course, got a cup of coffee in the couple of games against Pittsburgh and really didn't play all that great. He's not the best goalie in the world, Linus Ullmark, but Linus Ullmark is the best they've got, gives them the best chance, any chance to win. Whether they have any chance to win, he's at least going to give them whatever chance they have to win a hockey game. He will. So I do like Buffalo here. I do like the over as well because I think the Sabres can score on this Philly team. Philly can score on Buffalo. There's no question about that. Anybody can score on the Buffalo Sabres right now. So I do think the game goes over the total as well. So I'm on Buffalo plus 170 and over 6 plus 100 with the Flyers and the Sabres. Anaheim taking on Colorado. This is definitely one of the biggest favorites we've seen all season in the NHL. We've Colorado more than favorite. We're talking minus 420. Moneyline home favorite here for the Colorado Avalanche against the Anaheim Ducks. Total 5.5 shaded to the over in this one. When I look at this game, it's right away the thing that stands out for Anaheim is horrendous scheduling spot. There is no way to go about it other than this is a brutal situation for Anaheim. They played a late afternoon Sunday game against the St. Louis Blues. And if anybody watched that game, you know it was physical, it was intense, it was very, every inch of ice was contested. It was one of those tight checking, hard, you had to work hard. You had to actually, you had to sweat, to get through that hockey game. It was a hard, heavy hockey game with the Ducks and the Blues last night in that game. Anaheim rallies from a 2-0 deficit, ties the game, and then they win it in overtime, 3-2. Great comeback by Anaheim, although I think it's more of an indictment about just how bad things are going with the St. Louis Blues right now at this point in time. And I'll give Anthony Stolarz a lot of credit. Surprise starter, last-minute starter, because John Gibson is now day-to-day again due to injury. And they decided, you know what, Ryan Miller's been too inconsistent. Let's give Anthony Stolarz a shot here. Dallas Eakins given him the starting opportunity. He struggled in the first period. I think he was kind of nervous, fighting the puck a little bit. But boy, was he ever good the last 2 periods in overtime. He was excellent for the Anaheim Ducks and helping them get that comeback win. He kept it 2-0. He didn't allow St. Louis to get that third goal. A couple of big penalty kills as well for Anaheim. And then it ended up allowing them to come back and win that game. So very, very impressive resolve there from the Anaheim Ducks to get that victory against St. Louis. But now they're on a back-to-back on the road, third road game in 4 nights. Oh, and you're in the high altitude, thin air of Denver in Colorado for this game. This is a brutal spot for Anaheim. No question about that. However, you could also say it's a little bit of a dubious spot for Colorado. You just played 2 almost like playoff games back-to-back against the Vegas Golden Knights, a team you're battling with for first place in the division. You split the 2 games. You won the first game comfortably. And then Vegas, very impressed with Vegas, by the way, to win the second game in overtime. They showed you that they have a little character. They have a little mettle. They're pretty tough, too, in terms of mentally tough, in terms of they're a pretty damn good hockey team as well. They kind of showed you that Saturday against Colorado to bounce back after really being schooled by the Avalanche in the first game, come back and win in overtime. Marc-Andre Fleury was much better, and they carried the play to Colorado Saturday. So give the Golden Knights full marks for that win. So it could go either way. You could see Colorado let down after 2 big games against Vegas. I'm not so sure because Colorado's off a loss. Remember that. Maybe if they're off a win, there is a letdown here. Off a loss, though, we know they're pretty good. But when they're off in that kind of situation, I would expect them to play better here tonight. I think they win the game. I actually have a parlay, a very rare parlay. And we know that the last time I did this, it didn't work with Calgary and with Minnesota. It was Calgary that killed the parlay. But I think this is a pretty reliable parlay. It's two teams, and the first one is Colorado in the parlay tonight. I think they win the game. I mean, they have way more offense than Anaheim. They're rested. They're back home. Anaheim's in a brutal spot. Second road game in a row in as many days, and in high altitude, thin area. They could really hit the wall physically as this game goes on. I think Colorado does win this game. Colorado puck line first period. Yes, I like that as well. Colorado puck line minus a half goal first period, which is around, I believe it's around minus 105, minus 110 in that range. Let me see if I can bring up the latest numbers for that. That makes sense to me, that maybe jump on Anaheim in the first period with Colorado off that frustrating defeat to Vegas on Saturday. That definitely is a bet that interests me. Colorado puck line minus a half, minus 110. It means if they are leading after the first period, you cash your ticket. I think there's a good chance of that. I don't know who's going to be in net for Anaheim because Gibson is probably not going to be available. I doubt he's going to be in tonight after not playing yesterday. It's either Miller or they go back to Anthony Stolarz. And the question is, with Stolarz getting his first win, he did face a lot of shots yesterday. Do they go back to him on the second of back-to-back, or do they go with Miller? I think this becomes an even stronger bet with Colorado in some form with the first period puck line and, in a parlay of some kind. I think it gets even stronger if Ryan Miller's in net tonight for the Colorado or for the Anaheim Ducks. So I like Colorado here, first period puck line, minus 110. And also Colorado is one leg to a two-team parlay that I have tonight. Next up, we've got Los Angeles and Vegas. We don't have to wait long for the second part of that parlay. Vegas, minus 220, home favorites, 5.5 the total. And yes, Vegas is the other part of the parlay. Two-team parlay, Colorado, Vegas, it's around minus 125 to get both of those teams in a two-team parlay. Makes sense to me. I think Vegas beats LA. LA's kind of tailed off. They petered out. They fought the good fight. They've really given you a pretty good effort most of the season, this LA Kings team, but they're really starting to slip now the last few. Things are starting to carry over south, go south a little bit for this LA Kings team. They're now 5 points behind St. Louis for fourth in the division. They can actually still make the playoffs if they make a run, but they're definitely starting to slump a little bit more. Wasn't very impressed with them losing back-to-back games to the San Jose Sharks the way they did. That doesn't bode well here against this Vegas Golden Knights team. Vegas back home where they have obviously an excellent record at T-Mobile Arena this season. Max Pacioretty continues to be excellent for this team. He had an assist with Alec Martinez's goal. And of course, Max Pacioretty getting the overtime winner against the Colorado Avalanche over the weekend. Just really impressive performance from him of late. He is leading the team in goals, 18. Needs just 2 more goals, Pacioretty, to hit 300 in his career. So it's been a very, very good, career offensively for him. I know he gets nitpicked and criticized sometimes for, defensively away from the puck. Sometimes he could be better. I don't argue with that. But definitely at the offensive side, he's had a very nice career for himself here. The LA Kings, too, Cal Peterson, I like him as a goalie, but he's definitely struggled. He's been fighting the puck a little bit lately. That's a concern for me. The Kings, like I said, they lose 2 in a row to San Jose. That's not necessarily something I like seeing. Their defensive game has kind of declined a little bit the last few games they've played. I think Vegas, you could say let down for them, too, off the 2 against Colorado that they played, but I just don't think LA's playing well enough in the short term to take advantage. And Vegas, to me, I think can still get the job done. So I like them as the second part of that two-team parlay with Colorado. So it's the Avs and the Golden Knights two-team parlay, minus 125 for me. And I also like the over in this game. I like the over in this game because LA is regressing defensively. It's actually been an over-trending series history with the Kings and the Golden Knights. Most of their head-to-head games have gone over total. I expect more of the same here. And there is also a possibility that Robin Lehner is your goalie tonight because Peter DeBoer kind of wants to go back and forth with Fleury and Lehner. He didn't do that on Saturday because I think he wanted to give Fleury the chance to bounce back from the loss. that he suffered against Colorado on Thursday. He did that. Yes, it is going to be Leonard tonight. Not confirmed, but likely that Leonard is going to be in net for the Vegas Golden Knights. So again, hasn't played a lot this year. So there's chances that the Kings could find some offense, which is also why I like this game over the total tonight. 5.5, over 5.5, minus 110. All right, next game, Winnipeg taking on Calgary. We've got the Calgary Flames minus 115, home favorites here, 5.5 the total in this game. It shouldn't be a huge surprise that I'm liking Winnipeg here in this game. They're off a loss. You know how many times that I have been betting Winnipeg this year in games following a loss. And now this is once again that same situation. They've only lost 2 games in a row, Winnipeg, twice, maybe 3 times this year at the most. That's about it. So I expect them to be better tonight. Look, Calgary did what, I guess you could have said you might maybe expected them to show up, finally have a really, really strong 60-minute game after Daryl Sutter basically read them the riot act after losing to Winnipeg, saying we didn't show up, we were taking too many penalties, we were undisciplined, all of this stuff. Like he gave, obviously, his team the full frontal assault, for their poor game against Winnipeg. They lost only 3-2, but the final score was deceiving. Winnipeg controlled that game start to finish. There's no denying that whatsoever. So in this case here, we've got the Calgary Flames bouncing back Saturday, 4-2 win against Winnipeg. Yeah, they were better, but and it's unfortunate because on Saturday's show, I talked about how, I didn't mind Laurent Brossoit being in net. He's had a great season for the Winnipeg Jets. Well, he just happens to be coming off probably the worst game he's had all season. The 2 goals Calgary scored in the third period, they were awful goals to give up by Laurent Brossoit. And that's unfortunate because he's had a very good season. Saturday was not one of his best games. It was actually probably his worst game this season. I mean, that one goal that made it 3-2 from Andrew Mangiapane, that's basically right along the ice. I know it took a little deflection, but it's still, there's enough time for you to track the puck, make the save. Instead, it goes right through him to get the Calgary Flames the lead in the third period. And then they add to it with a 4-2 goal. And I think even that goal, Laurent Brossoit could have stopped it. So it was a tough night for him. I think some shaky goaltending contributed to Calgary being able to win the other night. They definitely played better. Johnny Gaudreau was definitely in the crosshairs of the head coach with that legendary Daryl Sutter statement on Saturday when asked about Johnny Gaudreau playing in his 500th game. And he said, well, he better just have more energy than he did in his 499th game. And he did it in that stoic, deadpan expression that he always has. It's absolutely hysterical. I'm sure many of you have seen it by now. And Johnny Gaudreau responded. We'll give him credit. It's not been a very good run for him lately. He had 1 goal in his last 9 games prior to Saturday night, but he didn't score Saturday night, but he had 2 assists. He was more noticeable. He was better on the forecheck. He had more chances on net. So it was definitely good to see that from Gaudreau after his coach basically had some pretty harsh words publicly for his recent play. So Calgary bounced back there. I'm going to need to see Calgary play good again because it's one thing to respond immediately after your coach just really criticizes you publicly like that. But can you sustain it? I still think this team needs to show it consistently, one game to the next. And Winnipeg, I know what I get from them after a loss. I get a good game from them. I get a bounce back effort. You're going to see Connor Hellebuck back in net, who's been outstanding as of late for the Winnipeg Jets. I'm going to need to be convinced that Saturday night was nothing more than was more than just a blip on the radar, and I'm not sure it was. It could very well be that, Sutter was pretty angry, pretty pissed off, basically called out the entire team, including Gaudreau, and then they played a great game. And is it sustainable? Can they make this run? I still don't think this team's playing great. I still don't think their best players are consistent game in and game out and show up every game. Their defense has been kind of disappointing. Like I say, Mark Giordano's the captain, and I'd like to see him get angry every now and then when you're playing this poorly, but that doesn't seem to happen with him. He's too nice of a guy. So I just need to see it from Calgary in terms of consistency. And Winnipeg off a loss, I'm interested. I still think they're better than Calgary. The price is only even money. In fact, they did open a slight road underdog in this game. Now we're seeing even money, but I like Winnipeg here around plus 100, minus 105 is where the current price is with the Jets. I think they get the victory here tonight against the Calgary Flames. We wrap it up with our final game on the slate, Minnesota Wild, San Jose Sharks. Minnesota minus 155, road favorites, total 5.5, shaded to the over in this game. The Minnesota Wild have been amazing at home. Can they keep it going on the road is the question mark. They have been just amazing on home ice. They've struggled on the road, but mostly against good teams. They didn't play well in Colorado. They didn't play well in Vegas. Well, San Jose isn't Colorado and San Jose isn't Vegas. There's a big difference between those two. But nevertheless, the Wild are playing some excellent hockey. I have no interest stepping in front of them right now. And even Cam Talbot, has played really, really well as of late in net for the Wild. And he's actually gotten more of the starts lately than Kakkonen. So he figures to start in net again here on Monday night against this San Jose team. The Sharks, obviously that was Martin Jones just playing well against the Kings as to why they beat the Kings, because they had a chance to, they were starting to play better, San Jose. They beat St. Louis. They had 2 in a row against LA. They won. Their defense was playing a little bit better. Martin Jones was giving them some saves. Things were starting to look up a little for San Jose, and then wham, right back to that team where coming into the season, I thought this team wasn't going to be very good, and they look like that team that wasn't supposed to be very good this season when they lost back-to-back this weekend to the Arizona Coyotes. They just didn't play well in either one of those games. Back-to-back losses on the road against Arizona, 5-2 on Friday. Jones back to struggling again. Devin Dubnyk, you know what you get with him. He's just not reliable, and they lose 4-0 in the rematch with Dubnyk in net. They didn't get any offense going, 2 goals in those 2 games. They spent too much time in the penalty box as well. They just were very undisciplined, and their penalty kill was just picked apart by Arizona in those 2 games. So we'll see if they can bounce back from that, but they're not playing the right team, in my opinion, to bounce back here in this game tonight against the surging Minnesota Wild. Now, again, Minnesota's not been quite as good on the road, but like I said, a lot of the road losses were against upper tier, upper echelon competition. That ain't the San Jose Sharks right now, but give Minnesota credit. I'm seeing their offense, play. I'm seeing their defense really tighten up as well of late. We know Fiala and Kaprizov and company have been very, very good offensively for this team, but now they got the goaltending. The defense has been razor sharp, rock solid in recent games as well to go with it. So there's a lot to like with Minnesota. I'm going to have them in regulation here at around minus 105. And I'm also going to like this game over the total a little bit. Funny thing about Minnesota, they're actually 11-7, I believe it is, to the over on the road. They've been a under machine at home this season, Minnesota, but they seem to open things up a little bit more when they go on the road, this Wild team, and get away a little bit from the just, shut you down defensive type of play that they often have on home ice. We've seen Minnesota actually, as I mentioned, yes, they've trended over the total on the road this season. The total's only 5.5. We know San Jose is pretty much good to give up 3, 4, 5 goals minimum in most games. Can you get a couple from San Jose at home, where San Jose does seem to score a little bit better and have a little bit more offense and production scoring wise when they play in the Shark Tank as opposed to on the road? I think they could chip in some offense here in this game as well. So I do like the over here as well. Over 5.5, minus 125 in this matchup tonight between the Minnesota Wild and San Jose Sharks. So Minnesota in regulation, minus 105, and also Minnesota San Jose over 5.5, minus 125. All right, that is the Monday NHL card for March 29th. Hope you enjoyed the analysis. Wish that Alex and Jimmy could have joined me today, but they're on the mend, and they will be back later in the week for sure. Looking forward to having them back alongside me here for the Ice Guys show, presented by the Hockey Podcast Network. Before we get to my best bet for this Monday card, a reminder, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Sign up for an account. Use the promo code THPN. We've got March Madness winding down, Final Four next weekend, but it's not too late to open up a DraftKings Sportsbook account on the app. and use that promo code. We've got NHL and NBA every day as the regular season comes down the home stretch. We've got obviously at Major League Baseball starting Thursday with opening day. There's still a lot going on and plenty of reasons to download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Do that. Sign up for an account. When you do, you'll get a deposit bonus, weekly specials, incentives. So download the app, sign up for an account, and use the promo code THPN with DraftKings. All right, good stuff. We are ready for best bet time here on this Monday edition of the show. Before I get to my best bet, Jimmy and Alex, because they were initially going to both be on today, but Alex under the weather, Jimmy had an appointment that unfortunately they had to change it to the time of the show. But they did have plays ready for this Monday card, which told me that they were ready to go, but unfortunately circumstances intervened and changed the plans for them being on today. But they did send me some plays for tonight. Here's Jimmy Murphy liking Edmonton plus 130. He's actually against me with Pittsburgh. He likes Pittsburgh puck line minus 1.5, which you can get at plus 225 in that game. So Jimmy's liking the Penguins puck line against the Islanders, and he's on Winnipeg plus one, or Winnipeg, Winnipeg minus 105. We'll say the current price against Calgary. Alex B. Smith, he has the Islanders Penguins over 1.5 in the first period at minus 105. He is on Winnipeg minus 105 against Calgary. And in Minnesota, San Jose, he is on Minnesota in regulation minus 105. And he also likes the first period over 1.5 minus 115 in that Minnesota San Jose game. So there is your plays for this Monday card from my cohorts, Alex B. Smith and Jimmy Murphy. We'll hope to have them back later this week. All right, it is my best bet for the Monday card. Time to unveil it right now to end this show. My best bet, and hey, I needed a slump buster and for the best bets. The best bets have been kind of up and down for me lately. I mean, I've had some good cards, but unfortunately, I've had cards where I'm hitting 500 or I'm having a winning card overall, but the best bet loses. That's happened quite a bit for me lately, and I was frustrated with that. I said I needed to shake it up yesterday. I liked New Jersey in the big underdog spot. They came through for me. New Jersey Devils plus 165 against Boston on Sunday to get the big plus price underdog best bet winner for me yesterday. That was great to see that. Let's see if we can carry it over to tonight. I'm going right back to the very first game I talked about. New York Islanders minus 105 in that range against the Pittsburgh Penguins. I love this team in this kind of spot. They're angry. They didn't play defensive hockey the way they normally do. That usually doesn't sit well with Barry Trotz's group. They're 8-4 this season in 12 games following a loss. They don't want to drop back-to-back games to Pittsburgh here, a team they're battling with for first in the division. And Pittsburgh's still a whole hell of a lot of banged up. Malkin out, Bluger out. Zucker may return tonight, but still, he hasn't played in a while. You've got a lot of injuries for this Pittsburgh team. And yeah, they beat the Islanders 6-3 with all those guys out. The Islanders will be better tonight. They'll be sharper. They'll be much tighter defensively tonight. And they're going to have a much tougher time, Pittsburgh, getting their offense going in this game tonight against a very motivated, focused Islanders team. A great bounce back bet on spot for me with the Islanders, minus 105 against the Pittsburgh Penguins. That'll be my best bet for Monday, March 29th. All right, that'll wrap up this edition of the Ice Guys. Thanks to everyone for tuning in. A reminder, we're on YouTube live 7 days a week, Monday through Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, as well as Saturday and Sunday at noon Eastern Time, breaking down every game from an NHL betting perspective. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast providers. I'm Ian Cameron. Thanks for tuning in and joining us. Enjoy the games and good luck. Have a great Monday night, and I'll talk to you again tomorrow on Tuesday for another edition of the Ice Guys presented by the Hockey Podcast Network.